Welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we cut through the bullshit
Greggy,
so we can get naked.
you can say that.
Why not? How would you say it then?
Well, maybe more like, welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we undress emotionally so we can undress physically.
That's exactly what I said. Not sure what the problem is. Well, we have officially gone out of the single digits. Episode number 10.
10.
You can't make up any rhymes. You thought about it.
I know. I was like, 10. Let's do it again.
We have a special edition here for our Thanksgiving week, and we're going to talk a little bit about gratitude and being thankful.
Yes, but I'd like to take it from a little different angle. We have a few Thanksgiving traditions that we have done forever and ever, and they've been enjoyable, but this was a new one that I experienced today, and so I thought it would be fun to share. But speaking of old ones, something that we've done forever and ever is to make a thankful chart for the month of Thanksgiving and to start out asking everyone what they're thankful for. And we have had this big, long scroll, and it's fun to see through the ages how what they're thankful for changes, how it went from binkies and blankies and favorite toys to favorite activities and experiences to teenagers where they're thankful for their bed or their phone or their friends, on into college when they were thankful for trips home or different things that
Food to eat,
you know, having meals cooked for them, to see the development of that and to see our development in our relationship in these lists. But we would just go around and ask everyone what they were thankful for and then post it, and then they could continue adding to it throughout the month. And so that's been a fun tradition that has sort of been a historical measure of our family that's been fun to see. But today I kind of want to take it from a different angle, and rather than just being thankful for what's outside of us, which is again wonderful, not discrediting that gratitude in any way. I think gratitude is a beautiful emotion. I think it's one of the highest vibrating, or has the most impact on us. To be in a place of gratitude is a beautiful place to be. So again, not discrediting any type of gratitude, but maybe just taking a different angle on it and looking at what we can be thankful for in our lives that maybe we haven't looked at in a way to be thankful for it.
Yeah, especially in relationships, as we go about trying to figure out who we are and be individuals. We talk about when we're in differentiation, we're whole unto ourselves, right? And a lot of times we think it might be selfish to look inward a little bit and be grateful for who we are or what we've learned and become. But oftentimes we find that if we can't do that, or our couples can't do that, they can't truly be differentiated because they can't feel like whole people unto themselves.
Mm-hmm. So this isn't a gratitude that is focused on being egotistical or better than. This is more a gratitude for your life experience and what has contributed to making you authentically you.
Yeah, and if you'll be surprised that this may be harder than actually finding gratitude for others.
Mm-hmm.
Or things around you. And oftentimes it's because we're taught to be humble, I think, a little bit. But also we're very hard on ourselves at times. We can be our biggest critics. Those voices in our head that we hopefully name and tell them to be silent at times will often tell us the other things that we're not. And so during this Thanksgiving week, we would really like to spend some time as couples looking inward and being thankful for who we are, not for who we are not.
Yeah. And before I get to what we're actually going to do today, I'm thinking of this weekend. We were fortunate enough to get away in Virginia, and we were relaxing in a hot tub in a beautiful resort. And another couple came in, and this was a couple that had both been recently divorced, had both suffered some really difficult experiences. There were tender moments as they shared these. There were tears, and there was also this joy of having come through those experiences. And that's really what I want to talk about today, there were very difficult things that they had been through. You might call them traumas, you might call them catastrophes, you might call them disasters, you might call them a lot of different names. But I think as you think about them and are able to see the gifts in these things, even when they may be terrible or traumatic or things that you don't want to look at, that's when gratitude becomes really powerful.
Yeah, I think another takeaway from this experience at the resort is what a blessing it's been to have the opportunity to be life coaches and to coach around marriage, because it gives us opportunity to open our mouths and to share and be open and vulnerable. We've had multiple experiences when we're able to do that with complete strangers. And this is another one where we entered the hot tub as complete strangers, but really we had some very open, vulnerable conversations about things that most people wouldn't talk about in a hot tub. And I think they mentioned how wonderful that was for them to be able to have this conversation, and how we wish that we, as a general population, are a little more open about some of the things that are hard for us and some of the struggles we've had. And so I also want to take that learning back from us too, is that we're all in this together. We all struggle. I've talked about how we're a mess, so come be a mess with us. And the more we can actually open up and be honest with the other people around that, the easier it is for us to learn from those experiences, overcome them, and be better from them, instead of hiding them and trying to be shamed from them. And it just makes the world go around and a lot better. So I really enjoyed that time sitting down and talking with them, and enjoyed the moment with two complete strangers that ended up not being strangers.
Yeah. We're able to connect in a really beautiful way. They were able to give us of their hearts, and we were able to give them our hearts. And we talked about some pretty difficult things. So that's what I love about this openness and willingness to see your experiences, your stories, your personal journey, and being able to take beauty from the ashes. I think that is a level of gratitude that really inspires and lifts and moves you to be in that creative space.
I'm a little nervous here because Amy says, hey, want to do this thing that you've never done before live in front of everybody? And I said, sure. So we'll see how it goes. The good thing about it is I get to edit whatever I get to edit out.
That's right.
Just kidding. It will be good. But I have never participated in this activity before, and I am going to be a guinea pig. So please bear with me if I completely fail.
There's no failing.
Oh, good. No failing or passing.
There's no
Good.
failing.
It'll
There's
work.
just you.
Okay.
So I want all of us to do this together. And this exercise did not come from me. It came from one of my lovely coaches, Kim Job. Kim and Scott Job are dear friends. They're fantastic coaches. They are amazing. And they talk a lot about our stories and how we tell the story of us and how formative that is. And this exercise helps you look at your own stories and your own formative experiences and find gratitude in them. And a lot of these experiences are not what you would have chosen, are not what you would have desired. Some people might call them traumas.
Getting more nervous as it goes.
But again, they're what create us and make us authentically us. And so part of owning who you are and being grateful for you is owning your stories, owning your journey, owning your experience, and having gratitude for it instead of resentment or hatred or disgust or shame or any of those other emotions. So let's start. This exercise can be done with many experiences, but for today, we're just going to pick one. Okay.
Okay.
So if you were doing this on your own, you would get out a sheet of paper and I would ask you to think about a formative life event. And if you were doing this on a sheet of paper, you might choose 10, you might choose 15, you might choose 1. But for this exercise with Greggy, I'm going to have him just think of one event that happened in his life that was truly formative, that shifted him in some way. And this could be a lot of different things. So he's looking up right now. Do you have your moment?
Oh boy. Do I have my moment? Sure.
Okay. So, do you want to share your moment?
Yeah, I've shared this moment with all of you, so I won't be surprised. I think a very important moment in my life that changed my relationship with my wife forever is the moment she discovered that I was viewing pornography, confronted me about that.
Okay. So we have this moment. It was not my finest moment. And in that moment, was very negative and very attacking. I'm not truly proud of that moment, but it is a very crucial part in our history.
All right. I'm supposed to be the gratitude one. We can.
Right. So from this moment, think about, here's your first question. What did you decide about yourself in that moment?
I was broken. And that I had messed up. And that I had caused a lot of pain.
And what did you decide about the world in that moment? This is the second question.
What did I decide about the world in that moment? There was a lot of confusion.
What?
Around some of the desires and things that I felt naturally and what I've been told was wrong and the impact it had on my family and what did I decide about the world? I don't know. If I go back, I was just probably some of the most emotionally painful moments in my life. There was, I remember one time, and again, this is, Amy admitting she wasn't in her finest moment either.
Not at all.
I remember one time I was just kind of not even sure what to do with myself. And Amy had told me that she loved me because God loved me, but that was the only reason that she loved me at the time. And really the pain that it had caused was there was some real pain and heartache. So the world was pretty dark at the time. I don't know if I answer that in a way that's informative or not, but it didn't seem to be a happy place.
So this is the story where you were at. You were broken. The world was not a happy place. There was a lot of confusion, and that confusion was directly related to who you were and your desire and sexuality.
I mean, it was every part of my life, right? So it had to deal with my spouse, the person I love the most, obviously, and the pain that I had caused her. But my family too, right? So, I mean, literally didn't know if our marriage was going to last. And so it impacted my children, four of my kids, my relationship with them. It impacted the way I saw and I related with others at church because it was a shameful thing, right? It was a thing that I was now broken and shameful for, and I needed to go take care of, and never would relate to anyone else at church at the time either. Like I wouldn't, at the time that was something I would try to keep as quiet and secluded as possible. And so
you learned there were parts of you that were shameful that needed to be hidden.
Oh yeah, man. It was, obviously I didn't come out because I brought it out. So I was trying to hide it anyway. And then when it did come out, it wasn't in a place that was good. So it continued to be a shameful thing, and I only exposed it to those that I thought I had to.
And what's one thing you decided to do better or become as a result of this story?
Well, this is interesting because I think I decided for the wrong reasons at the time, to be honest with you. I had decided that I loved my family and wanted to be with them, and so I would do anything that I had to do at that time to make sure that happened. but I didn't know how to deal with it. And we had a therapist tell me that I was addicted and would never overcome it. And so I think at the very moment I decided to maybe even hide more, to be honest.
And what's one thing that now you strongly believe, fight for, or stand for because of this experience?
Yeah, so finally got out of it. You had me in the dredges of sadness there. Maybe I can get happy again.
Sorry.
No, it's good to go there because it's the opposite, right? So as dark and dreary and terrible as that moment was, and the pain that had come up into that moment, and it took a very long time to get to this place, but there was moments in my life when, one, I learned that I wasn't broken. There wasn't something extremely wrong with me. My sexuality wasn't terrible, and it didn't destroy my family. And if I learned the right way to integrate it into my life, then it would be a true blessing. And so at that moment, I was determined to not be quiet anymore. And I was determined to find others that suffered from this same thing and had to put work and overcome it. I was determined to speak up. I remember sitting down in a meeting with my family and telling all my kids about having gone through this experience and what it meant to me and how it had changed me. That was something that I would have never done before. And obviously it's led me to be on a podcast, I guess. Not only have I not hidden it from people at church, I haven't hidden it from the world, right? It's anyone that wants to listen can listen, and I'm willing to talk about it. It was the moment that changed me as a person. It was a moment that changed our relationship. It was a moment that brought our marriage to a place where it could be today. If I hadn't gone through that, I don't think we would have been there. One, if we were still hiding and not being honest with each other, we couldn't be in this relationship. But I also think those extreme moments are the refining moments that literally, you talk about refinement having to go through pressure.
It'll peel you to your very core.
Right.
And you are just like exposed in all of your...
Right.
Yeah.
And if we could have had a major shift in our relationship and had a great marriage, maybe over time. I don't know if this wasn't part of it, but this sure set it off as a rocket ship, right? It
put us on a trajectory to really work and look and search.
Right.
So how do you think this experience helps you to become you? What are you grateful for in it?
Yeah, I mean, this experience has led to everything that I've become, right? It's taught me about validation, and we know what we learned about validation if you listen to the podcast, me and my validation whoredom. It's taught me about being okay at who I am. It's taught me to be open and vulnerable with others, and that's truly how you have relationships, not only with just you. I think in general, I've been able to have deeper and stronger relationships with people because I have been willing to be open and honest about who I am and not be ashamed or hide it. If you look at it, it's probably impacted me on every part of my life, right? From home, with you for sure, 100%. We've talked about that. With my kids, I've been able to be open with them, and I've helped them through some of these struggles that they've had because I've been vulnerable and open. They've been willing to have conversations I don't think they would have had with me. It's helped me at work, maybe a little too much. My coworkers might say that I'm a little too open and honest about how I feel, and maybe I get myself in trouble that way, but it definitely has changed my ability to do that. And then just as we talked about before, literally in front of strangers, right?
In a hot tub in a resort in the middle of Virginia.
Yeah, so if you look at it, I think I'm a completely different person, and it has impacted me in every part of my life.
So are you grateful for this?
Yes, 100%. I wouldn't have said that maybe even just a year or two ago, but I wouldn't be where I'm at and who I am without this experience.
So this is how looking at some of our most painful moments can transform into gratitude and help reveal your most authentic you. The you that has been shaped by these experiences, that has been revealed, that has been exposed, that has been developed, that has faced some storms, some fears, some challenges. That's what these experiences call us to, and also bring us forward, like in ways that maybe we wouldn't have done on our own. And then there's gratitude for that development.
Yeah, in the middle of it, it sucks.
Yes.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
And the pain is real. If you're going through it, it's not, we're not saying that the pain is not real.
No, it's very real.
And
in fact, I think the pain is part of the transformation.
Yeah. I think the tendency as human beings is when we want the pain to go away as quickly as possible, but also for us to focus on the victimhood of the situation. There was many times within that situation, I think on both sides actually, where I could have said, hey, I'm a victim to my circumstances. You obviously could have taken that approach and maybe did a little bit at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And really, being a victim is not a very good place to be. It means we have no control over what our situation is and what's going on. And
well, you may not have control over the situation, but being a victim means that you have taken your capacity and rendered it powerless.
Right. And that's where I was going to go, right? So while we can't control that situation, we can literally control how we react to it and what becomes of it.
Mm-hmm.
As we spoke earlier, and I could remember very clearly those feelings that I felt, right? And the pain and the suffering and the reaction. At times I didn't deal very well with it. And then it's taken a lot of years and work to get to a place where I can clearly say, and I didn't hesitate, that I was grateful for this, right? So one, if you're in the middle of it and you're going through it right now, realize that there's no short-circuiting the pain, right? It's something we have to learn to internalize and deal with and process through, or it won't ever be helpful. But once we do that, then it can be a helpful way of changing who we are.
So I did this experience this morning, and I picked out 3 different pivotal events in my life, but I probably could have listed 20.
You always have to outdo me, do you?
No. Like
she's the A student.
No, that's what we were asked to do. We were asked to do 3. I did one for you just for ease of podcasting. And not all of these were traumatic events. Some of them were more difficult. One of the ones that I picked out was the loss of my father when I was 16, when he died of a sudden heart attack, and how that plunged our family really into a very trying, difficult circumstance for many, many years, and had ripple effects that still last. Yesterday was his 73rd birthday, and we still miss him. I still miss him. I speak in the we as my siblings and others in my family. And yet I think I still grieve for the losses that still impact me today from that event. And also I think it brought out a depth in me that at a really young age was able to empathize and feel and see the depths in others, to know the sorrows and the griefs and the losses, and to be able to feel that with others. And it's not something you usually think, like, I'm really grateful that I can feel sorrow with you. But I am really grateful for that. I'm grateful that I can feel to the depth that I can feel with people. And so this is the type of gratitude we're talking about, where I'm sure you have experienced formative experiences, and they have shaped you in a way. And you can be grateful for that shaping. You can be grateful for that experience and how it has molded you into a unique version of you that is authentic and that has given you gifts or skills or capacities or insights that you wouldn't otherwise have. And I think that's part of what makes us so unique, and also allows us to connect and reach and give and receive from others.
I think I have an activity I like to have my couples do, especially when we first bring them on. And it's an activity of thinking about their desires and spending some time listing those desires out. And boy, man, it's challenging, especially for my female friends to list those out. I like to take a little twist on this.
Yeah.
Let's do a challenge out to all our folks out there, and let's take some time to sit by ourselves. We asked them to list out 25, although the ones that are scared, I start with 10 and they look at me like I'm crazy. So maybe we'll just start with 10. But let's take some time this week during Thanksgiving to sit down with pen and paper and just have a moment with yourself that's honest. This doesn't have to be shared with anybody. I'd like it just to be for you. But start listing out some of the things you're grateful about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And just, brief. Just what is it about me that I'm grateful for?
Mm-hmm. What characters, what traits, what experiences, what capacities, what insights, what uniqueness is it that you inherently possess that you're grateful for?
Right. And if we sit and all we can hear is that negative voice that says you're not good enough, there's only shameful things about you, please tell that voice that it can be excused. It's not welcome at the Thanksgiving table. It can't even sit at the kids' table. It's got to get out. And it will, because that's what your mind will do. Your mind will try to protect you by saying all the things you're not. But let's take some opportunities of dismissing that voice and writing some things that you are. Because every person in this world has things that they can be grateful for, that are great and wonderful.
Those become the gifts that we use to not only bless others, but to connect and develop these beautiful experiences and relationships with. What we've been uniquely given becomes the way that we uniquely connect to.
There are podcasts that I remember talking about, listening to. They talked about, I think it's called Parts.
Yes.
Family.
Richard Schwartz, his internal family systems.
Right. And the reason why this came to my mind as we talked about it is he met with some of the most challenging people, I would say.
Or people who were attacking themselves very violently.
Right. And in a very violent way. And he found a way to go in and find out the story they were telling themselves, or why they had gone through, and to the point where that they had, their minds had told them that these things were true.
So we have different parts of us, and in different experiences, sometimes we develop a part that is protective, or thinks it's being protective, or thinks it's being helpful. And this part can also become damaging to us.
Right.
So, for example, perhaps there's someone who believes that their parents are fighting because they're not a good enough child, and they will try to punish themselves into goodness, maybe by picking at their own skin or attacking themselves in some way in an effort to try and make their parents stop fighting. So you might have a part that says, hey, if you punish yourself, then you will be a better person and your parents will stop fighting. Obviously, there are flaws in this part and in this thinking, but it's a story that becomes very real. And as you give that space for that story and that part, you can have empathy and compassion, and then also correct that story and allow it to be helpful in a way that actually is helpful, meaning that you start to show this part, hey, your parents aren't fighting because you aren't a good enough child, and punishment never helps you to become better. Compassion does, and support and love, and these types of things are what will actually help you to develop and become a better person. And also, you're not responsible for your parents. Right.
And so that's just an extreme example, but I guess I bring it up because it reminds us that as we sit down and quietly think about the things that we're grateful for about ourselves, there'll be these moments that you might go through that want to spoil this time, and realize that's normal, and you can dismiss them or thank them and go on with a list of things that you're grateful for. And I think it could be very impactful for you to see this. Again, getting back to the whole reason we have this podcast in the beginning and why we talked about undressing intimacy is because we're trying to get to a point where as couples that we're differentiated, right? That we
can stand solidly in who we are.
That's right. And if we can't be grateful for who we are, we can't stand solidly on who we are.
Yes.
And if we can't do that, then we don't have space or room to be invested in someone else too.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to be able to be grateful for who we are, to be able to reach out and be close to those that we love the most.
And being grateful for who you are doesn't mean that you become egotistical or better than. It means you see the goodness in you. And when you can see the goodness in you, you can also acknowledge the goodness in others.
It's like you talk about, you have to have both realizing that you're godly and that's wonderful,
human.
and that you're in the human experience and
Mm-hmm.
you're a mess, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the being able to see both sides. And hopefully this experience will allow you to see both sides and focus on a little bit on the gratitude of what got you there and who made you who, and help you be solid in yourself so that you can become intimate with someone else.
And you might find as you do this a story. I was coaching someone today and she said, I feel like I've missed the boat, or the boat has left the dock, or I'm too late, or it's too far. And stories like that might come up. And I think you can have compassion for them and also discover that you are a creator and you have capacity and you've been brought to this moment and this time and this place, and you have a purpose and you have gifts to share. And those gifts come from your stories, from your experiences, from what is authentically you. And so it's okay to acknowledge those.
Yep. I go back to our good friends in the hot tub. They
Yes.
were early 50s, late 40s. And I got to remind them that they're just getting into their prime. And we really are getting into our primes in this age. We mature a little bit and we become better versions of ourselves. Not that you can't do it at 20 and 30s. If you're in there, do it sooner than we did. You can enjoy more years. But also, as Amy said, it's never too late. And you can rewrite your story, I guess, understand it better, and be able to
or see the
change.
gift in your experience. I think
Yeah.
that's when the gratitude comes, and you see the pain, you see the suffering, and you also see the joy and you see the growth. And again, not all stories are like this. As one of the stories I went through today was choosing to marry you. And that was a joyful story.
That was impactful.
and it also
She's like,
changed
shoot,
my
what
life.
did they do that for?
And stretched me in so many ways. And so not every story necessarily is negative or traumatic, but also being able to see in those negative, challenging, traumatic, painful stories the joy, as well as seeing the joy in the joyful ones.
By the way, I had to beg her to marry me, and a shout
did
out
not
and a
have
shout
to
out to
beg
her
me.
sister if she's listening right now. I'm gonna give her a shout out because her sister definitely helped me out. So thank you, Mel, if you're listening. Shout out to you on that experience of deciding to marry.
I do love my sister. That's a funny story.
We said one day we'll do a podcast on that story, but not today. So to sum it up, we are so grateful that we're in this place. Sometimes
Yes.
I even just pinch myself. That experience of coming out of the hot tub thinking we had that opportunity to sit down and talk to this couple because where we're at, to enjoy and dream big. By the way, we dreamed about what it would be like to have a retreat at this beautiful Virginia lodge, right? And
We
have
did.
all you with us in this beautiful place.
And perhaps you'll be a part of that dream.
That's
coming
right.
true.
And
it was
someday
a beautiful resort.
We never thought we'd be here, and we are, and our dreams continue to come true. And it's out of those ashes that they've come, right? And it's out of those moments that they become. And we just hope that you take this week of gratitude and you take some time to be grateful for yourself and who you are, and it will help you become closer to those that you love the most.
And you can also be grateful for your spouse too, and your kids and your family, and also grateful for what is. Sometimes at these gathering moments, you gather together with family and it brings out a lot of different dynamics and challenges. And
Good luck with those.
so, and we sometimes have expectations that are unmet and different unresolved, maybe differences between family members. Whatever the situation is, we hope that you can find gratitude in it. Gratitude for what is, gratitude for where you are, gratitude for where you're headed, gratitude for what is possible.
And then afterwards, if it's bad, come see us. We'll help you. We would love it if you like and subscribe to this podcast. And if you come visit us on langfordlifecoaching.com. After those Thanksgiving horror stories that you have with your family members, you can click on
amazing moments.
Oh, maybe amazing moments. You can click on free consult. We'd love to talk about them and help them out if we can. We would love to have opportunity to work with you. It's the greatest blessing of our lives. I am so grateful for the opportunity to coach the couples I do and to have this opportunity to speak to you each week. It's wonderful. Our retreats, it's been a great blessing. So thank you all so much. Again, please go like and subscribe. Come visit us.
I feel like it's a sacred responsibility to be in a session with each and every person. I get to hear their stories, see their stories, witness them, be with them in their pain and in their joy and in their struggle. And that to me is sacred. And I just want you to know that I hold each of my clients in a sacred space, and I respect them and I respect their stories and their journeys. And I am grateful for that privilege to be able to do that.
Yeah, no judgment zone here. We're all messed up. All right. Until next week. Keep undressing your intimacy.
Let me do it again. Okay, try it again.
All right. Until next week.
Keep undressing your intimacy.
So you can get naked.